This is Lisa from MobileTechReview, and this is the Acer Predator Triton 300 SE. That's a lot of words in that name, isn't it? So the 2022 edition of this in 16-inch size. There is also a 14-inch version of this gaming laptop that competes with the Asus ROG Zephyrus G14, the Razer Blade X14. You get the idea. But this is the 16-inch. So the competitors for this are the Alienware M15R7 and the Lenovo Legion 5i Pro and other gaming laptops of that ilk. So this is a higher end model. For those of you who are familiar with Acer's models, the Predator is the higher line, the Nitro is the more affordable lower end line. So this is pretty premium. It's $2,200 list price. It does get you a QHD Plus display, 16 inches, 16 by 10 aspect ratio, an Intel 12th generation Core i7 12700H, and an NVIDIA RTX 3070 Ti. Not bad, with 115 watts for the GPU. So no slouch there, actually. And you get an aluminum casing, though I'm not a real fan of the paint job on top. That kind of grainy looking, shiny, makes it look a little cheap to me, but you know, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. It's relatively speaking also a good laptop for creators, and I think it's kind of a crossover model in that respect because it's fairly low-key looking. It doesn't have RGB all over the body or anything like that. It has 3-zone RGB keyboard, that's about it. And it's not real heavy or bulky by any means. It's not ultra thick, but it's, you know, it's pretty slim, and it's 5.3 pounds, which is 2.4 kilograms. And you've certainly got enough horsepower and a really nice display for content creation, whether it's Blender or Adobe Premiere or you name it, you know, it's nice for that stuff. Normally I don't talk about the display right away, but this really is literally the centerpiece of the laptop. It's just nice. That 16 by 10 IPS display is bright. Now, they claim 500 nits. We measured 461. Okay, well, that's still really bright for a gaming laptop display. And the color is on point. You've got full P3 coverage, 89% of Adobe RGB, so that's not bad. That's pretty good, actually. It's fairly premium here. So they've done a nice job, but the contrast looks good. It's not going to be OLED level or anything like that, but then again, with an OLED display, it would cost even more and have other ramifications to battery life. This is a 240 hertz panel, so it's good for gaming, certainly, and 3 millisecond response time on it. Nice stuff there. So again, for content creation as well, or media consumption, it's going to be very nice, and it's great for gaming. I certainly enjoyed testing it out. Now, Acer has their fancy pants marketing name for their dual fan cooling. It's quite effective. They've been good at that for years. They do sculpted fan blades and all that sort of thing. Air intake from the bottom, like most all gaming laptops. Don't put it on your comforter when you're playing, in other words, and stifle it. Also takes in air from the top through the keyboard, exhausts it out the rear and out the sides. They also use liquid metal on the CPU. That helps a lot. And the temperatures on this were good. Now, when it comes to performance, I did see the usual thing you would see in games. As they're loading and in the first several seconds of playing, you see the clock speeds on the CPU really high, and the CPU temperatures can still go up to the mid-90s. And then you see it dropping the clock speeds down to 2.2 or 2.6 gigahertz, considerably lower than turbo boost maximums, in other words. But the frame rates on this are still good. So it's something to keep in mind, that they're definitely keeping it cool here. And I would say keeping it quiet. If you run it on balanced mode, yes. Their Predator software is really good. I like it a lot. I wish Alienware modernized and give you the nice responsive multifaceted control you have. So you've got a couple of different power plans and performance levels to choose from. Now, right above the keyboard deck, where you might think is the power button, it's not. The power button is embedded in the keyboard, is the turbo button. So you can just throw it straight into turbo if you need to. So when I was running the Far Cry 6 benchmark, which is pretty CPU heavy and QHD plus resolution and the highest graphic settings and all that sort of thing. In fact, the frame rates were okay, not great. So you can see as the benchmark runs, if you see the frame rate jumping about 10 points, that's because when you put it in turbo mode, you can get up to 10 points. But oh my God, it's loud. The fans aren't annoying or grating or high pitched, but boy, this thing is, hello, 2019 called and wants its noisy gaming laptop back. But below that, there's the extreme setting. You'll hear the fans. I mean, it is a gaming laptop. They'll be loud, but not like, oh my God, loud. And you're still going to gain 5 to 7 frames per second on that. So I would say that that's a worthwhile setting to go with. Now, in terms of ports, you've got two USB-As, one on each side, very convenient. You've got your HDMI port, of course you have an audio jack, and Thunderbolt 4, and you've got gigabit Ethernet. Not 2.5 gigabit, but it is a killer E2600 module at least, and you have killer/Intel Wi-Fi 6E on board. So pretty decent connectivity given the fact this is not a humongous kind of machine. All the ports are on the side. Oh, and the micro SD card slot is up at the front edge, and the card sits flush, which isn't surprising. Micro SD cards are tiny. There are no ports at the rear. That's all ventilation. Now, taking it apart is pretty easy. Let's check that out. Take off the metal bottom cover. Just all the visible torque screws need to be unscrewed, and then it's pretty easy to work your way around. The back corners are a little bit grabby, especially because we have this kind of wraparound going on in the back. So, yeah, just be mindful. Get it off there, and then everything is bone stock, normal and standard. No inverted motherboards, no weird things going on. It's very easy to work on this, which I love. Very nice big heat sinks going on here. They kind of have a vapor chamber look to them. Two fans, obviously, as we know, and we've got the two RAM slots right here. Beside it is the socketed Wi-Fi card, so you could swap it or upgrade it in the future if you wish to do it. That's a perfectly good Wi-Fi card. You'll probably be happy with what you got there. And we have two SSD bays. One comes populated there, and it's nice to have a second though, so you can expand your storage pretty easily. And the battery here, now this is not, it uses the case screws to hold it down, so be mindful of that it's real, nothing's holding it down much once you unscrew the bottom cover. Gee. And the speakers are flanking the battery, as you almost always see with laptops. Now, speaker audio, boy, this thing gets loud, really loud. And it also supports DTS:X audio, if you are into that. But the speakers get brash if you turn up the volume high, so yeah, you're not going to want to do that. And there's not a lot of bass. It's not unusual for gaming laptops. You would think they would really have good audio, but they typically often do not. So this is one where you're going to want to use external speakers or headphones to really enjoy the audio quality. Even watching a movie, to be honest, I would rather use headphones and listen to that kind of tinny, hissy sound. That is what it is. The keyboard on this is just fine. Like I said, 3-zone RGB. It's only just fine, though. It's not great. It's not a gamer's keyboard. It's not mechanical. It's not very tactile. It's low travel, but it lacks the tactility, say, of an Alienware X series or any number of competing laptops these days. It's a little mushy, but it's okay. Trackpad is fine, and you'll see something you don't often see in gaming laptops, which is a fingerprint scanner, which is embedded, pretty obviously speaking, in the trackpad upper left corner. So, yay to have that. I'm not sure if that would be my preferred location, but it is. So how about battery life? You have nearly 100 watt hour. I mean, there's 99.98 watt hour battery. That's just as close as you can get with and still be able to take that on an airplane. And a 230 watt charger with ours. So that's a lot of battery power, but then you're looking at an Intel 12th gen processor. We're not talking something that is frugal with power, and this one has the RTX 3070 Ti. Though we do have advanced Optimus on board, so it does automatic graphics switching. It's not going to run on the dedicated GPU all the time, unless you set it to do so. No, that's up to you. Anyway, battery life, maybe it's better on the other model that's available for this, with an RTX 3060, still a Core i7 though, but it's okay. I mean, if you're doing light productivity work or streaming some video or something like that, you could get, with brightness set down to about 40%, you know, you maybe could get about 6 hours out of it. So yeah, there's that. So that's the Acer Predator Triton 300 SE, their higher-end gaming laptop offering. That's also good for content creation. The only challenge right now is the fact that, well, it's the holidays here of 2022, and a lot of their competitors are having some steep discounts. So usually Acer is the value proposition. Right now they're a bit expensive. And there's nothing that sets us that far apart from the competition either. So nice try, Acer, but let's see what 2023 brings. I'm Lisa from MobileTechReview. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos, and thumbs up if you like this vid.